Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another live webcast. And I'm sorry to disappoint you, we're not playing the Swedish House Mafia in the intro. It's some custom-made music for internet content. So, today we have the second episode of our console connectivity series, and we're going to be taking a look at the High End Hog 4 and the ChamSys MagicQ consoles. Before we do that, I'd just like to mention briefly a little bit about the SGM New Talents Award, where the 3 finalists for the awards have just been chosen on Friday last week. The finalists are Johannes Beck, Vikar Mauni, and Daniela Röske. These 3 finalists will be competing against each other in the SGM showroom in Köln in around 10 days from now. And they are competing for a MacBook as well as a Capture Symphony Edition. There is going to be some live coverage from the competition on Friday in, well, 1.5 weeks. We'll be posting the links on our Facebook page, of course, so you can follow that live if you wish. I've seen most of the competitors' material, and it's really some nice and interesting designs. So without further ado, let's dive into the main topic of today, which is connecting Capture with the High End Hog 4 and ChamSys MagicQ consoles. If you have any questions, please write them in the comments field below the Facebook video, and I'll try and answer them. I'll probably have a first break after the hog part and deal with any hog questions, and then after the MagicQ part, if there are any MagicQ questions, I'll try and cover them at that point. If you are watching this after the fact, then of course it's too late for any questions. So the videos we produce here, they are available on Facebook as well as YouTube after the live webcasts. So if you're watching them afterwards, I would recommend that you watch them on YouTube because they're actually in higher resolution on our YouTube channel. So, and don't miss our YouTube channel if you've missed that as well. So I'm going to start with the Hog 4. So let's switch to my computer view here. Thank you. As you might have guessed already, I don't have neither a Hog nor a MagicQ in the studio here. The main reason for that is that I need to show you what happens on screen anyway, so we would just be filming the screens of the consoles and that would be pointless. So I'll be using Hog 4 PC and MagicQ on Windows, obviously, to show you what I'm doing. I've prepared a bit of a 3D environment in Capture. So we have a floor, a back wall, and a piece of circle truss that we'll be using to hang some lights on. And I'm going to start with Hog. So I've installed Hog 4 PC on my computer. I have also made sure to install the connectivity drivers. It may be that they come with a regular install. Just make sure when you're installing that if you don't see connectivity drivers mentioned, there's a separate download as well. So make sure you have the connectivity drivers installed if you want to repeat what I'm doing here. The connectivity drivers only come for Windows. So if you want to connect Hog 4 with Capture and you want to run Capture on a Mac, then you will have to use ArtNet or Streaming ACM, which I will come back to in a little bit as well. So I've started Hog 4 PC here. It seems I'm not running the latest version actually. This is 3.8, whereas the latest I think is 3.9. And I'm going to launch a new show. I'll call it Capture Live. So I'm starting off from scratch with a blank show, so there's no patch, no nothing like that. My computer is actually not connected to a network. It is connected to a switch, so it has a fixed IP address. I've run Hog4 PC without being connected to a network, on a wireless network, just being connected to a switch, and I haven't found a configuration where it doesn't work, so it seems pretty robust in that sense. So the first thing you want to do when you have Hog4 running is make sure it's connected to capture. Now, unfortunately, there is no other way of seeing that than whether there is DMX coming into capture. So I'm actually going to start by patching a few fixtures in capture so we are ready to receive the DMX once it's coming in. So I'm going to go into the library. I'm going to use the MMX spot. Let's rig it to the circle truss, snap the rotation anchor to the center of the circle, and use the clone tool. I've prepared a bit here already. It's a 360 circle truss, and divided by 6 fixtures gives us 60 degrees between each fixture. I've already added one, so I want 5 more. This gives us a circle of 6 fixtures on the circle truss. I'm also going to patch the fixtures, so I'll use the Fixture tab to select them all, and then simply drag and drop them onto the first channel of the DMX universe. So looking at the Universes tab here, we have at the bottom here it says Project Console Link, and it does say Hog3/4 already. Now, at this point, this isn't actually an indication whether Capture is speaking with the Hog or not. This is more an indication that I have the connectivity drivers installed. So if you have the connectivity drivers installed, you will see the Hog3/4 console link regardless of whether you're actually connected to a console. But now I am, and I want to control these fixtures from Hog4. So I'm going to do the patch in here as well. I'll do setup patch, fixture schedule, loading the library. I would sing you a song if I was good at that, but I'm not. And we need 6 MMX spots. Okay, dokie. 1 through 6 at universe 1. Okay, I'm assuming you have some basic Hog skills here. I'm not teaching you how to patch in a Hog. You should know that if you're watching this, I think. So we have 6 fixtures patched on a universe, and we are ready to send DMX to capture. What we need to do at this point is go into the setup, choose network, and configure the visualizer network row in the setup of Hog4. So with the visualizer row selected here, I click on settings. And here I'm given the opportunity to enter an IP address of the visualizer I want to use. Now the connectivity driver cleverly scans the network to see what is out there, so I can use the pre-filled choice here for capture and click OK. So you can see now that we have some DMX values in the universe view. Well, it's right behind me here. So this means we are receiving the DMX. So let's go into live mode and see what we can do with these fixtures. So 1 through 6 at full. There you go. So obviously we're in control of the fixtures. If I do a little bit of pan and tilt, we can see this action live. So we have DMX coming from the Hog4 into capture. This is the bare basics. Now there are a number of things we can do in addition to this. Before I get to that, I should also mention that one of the benefits of using the connectivity drivers over ArtNet or streaming ACM is that we can use more than 16 universes from the Hog. if I wasn't using the connectivity driver, and using ArtNet or streaming ACN, I would have to have the console plus a DP or additional DPs to get more than 16 universes into capture. With the connectivity drivers, I don't have to bother about that. And I don't have to have any Hog hardware at all to get the DMX into capture, which would be the case otherwise. It's also been pointed out to me that, and especially if you're using more than 16 universes, that you should not configure the IP of the capture computer to be on your HogNet. You should put it on a separate network. And you should also make sure you're running capture on a Windows 10 machine. Otherwise, you might run into some severe performance issues when using more than 16 universes. Anyway, let's have some more capture action. So we have 6 fixtures that we can control. So let's see what more we can do. So there are 2 more things we can do with the Hog and capture, and that is fixture selection and autofocus. In order for this to work, we have to set up the same channel numbers in capture as we have in the Hog. And by channel numbers, I mean the number column in the patch here. So we need to assign the same numbers to the fixtures in capture. I will use sequential channel for this. When I've done that, whenever I select fixtures in capture, sorry for clicking around, I'm running out of screen space. So if I bring up the programmer here, you can see that I can select fixtures in capture, and they are selected in the programmer in the Hog. So that means, especially if you're building groups, or if you're doing some particular focusing of individual fixtures, that as a complement to the channel selection capabilities of the Hog, you can also click on fixtures in capture to have them selected. It's not bidirectional, so I don't see in capture what I've selected in the Hog, but even so, it's very useful. And what's more, there's also an autofocus capability here. So I can right-click, as I would do normally to focus fixtures in capture, and have the pan and tilt values fed back into the Hog. As you can see here in the programmer, the pan and tilt values change when I right-click in capture. So for building focus palettes, this is incredibly powerful, as you can easily focus a large number of fixtures anywhere you click. Yes, and I have one final remark, just checking if we have any questions here as well. That was, I got a rather long question here. To be honest, I'll have to read that a little bit later. So there's just one final thing I want to show you. Now I did the patch both in capture and in the Hog. There is actually an opportunity to transfer the patch from capture into the Hog. So I will show you that as well. First, I need to delete some fixtures in the Hog. I'm not that terribly Hog proficient, and now I'm looking for the clear button, which is hidden. So 1 through 6 in setup patch. 1 through 6, I thought. Please bear with me. There you go. And delete. Or remove, actually, yes. So I've cleared the patch in the Hog again, and I want to import the patch from capture. Now, the way I would do that is use export fixture data. I choose a file name, in this case on the desktop, I'll call it patch. I change the file type to XML for Hog4. Then this window pops up that lets me rename the fixtures in the patch file I'm generating. Now the reason for this is that I need to give the exact same names of the fixtures as you would find in the fixture library in the Hog. So if we open the fixture schedule here, we can see that the expected fixture name in this case would be Robin MMX Spot M1. So again, it's very important that you get these names right, otherwise the export won't work. So now I have a file on the desktop, which you can barely see back here, which is my exported patch. And now in the patch view here, if I make it wider, there's an import patch button at the top. I'll choose the file that I just exported, and voila, here's the patch with my 6 fixtures. But again, be very careful to get the fixture names right, otherwise you will have fixtures missing after import. So let's see what the question I got was, or didn't. Tim Burke is asking if I can show how to control the camera in Capture with the Hog, please. That is a very good question. I'm not sure I can, but I will attempt. So in the fixture schedule, simply search for Capture, and you will find the Capture camera personality. I'll be needing 1 in this case. And now this may all collapse if I don't remember how to do this. This may have been a terribly bad idea, but I'm guessing it's number 7. And let's put it on DMX line 2. It turns out I'm not ready to show you how this is done. It's not quite behaving the way I had expected. Oh, I didn't actually change the, okay, sorry. So now we have one capture camera. It's 101. So let's patch that on DMX line 2. There we go. So now we have a fixture in the Hog that represents the camera, a camera in Capture. At this point, it could be any of the 3 views cameras. So we have the alpha view here. Let's bring up the ambient lighting a little bit so that we can see what we're doing. And the alpha view has a property called patch down here. So let's patch it to Universe 2 channel 1. Now, as you can see, the camera moved. We are likely at level 0, 0, 0. So we are basically in the middle of the floor looking into the wall. So if we switch to the programmer, let's just clear that. Here is the camera. So you can see it has pan and tilt parameters. Now, I'm not sure, yes. So let's move the capture down here so you can see what I'm doing. So we have one parameter for the pan. You can see the cube moving in Capture here, or rotating rather. And then on another bank or on some other wheels, you will find, yes, so here you have the parameters for the X, Y, and Z position of the camera. So this way you can program camera positions in the Hog4, and you can have, well, some might make a cue list or Paulette to have different camera positions they can jump between easily when at the console. You can also program a cue list and crossfade between the camera positions to do flybys and fly-throughs. Do make sure that you are using the latest fixture library. There was an older version of the capture camera that suffered from some precision issues, which made it very difficult to do any kind of decent crossfades. The reason is the position parameters in Capture are 16-bit, and you really need all the resolution in order to have any smooth movement in Capture. All right, so seeing we have no more questions on the hog at this point, I'm going to move on to the MagicQ. Let's just see that we covered everything. I think we did. Great. I'm sorry. That probably sounded awful. So let's unpatch the camera and capture again so that we're not in a difficult position. Let's exit hog 4 and move on to the MagicQ. So I have on my computer installed MagicQ. The latest version is 1805 that I'm using here. And I'm going to start with wiping the show and show you from a clean start what it would look like. So I'll do new show, erase show, yes, normal. All right. So in order to hook up the MagicQ with Capture, I would say the first thing you need to do, or that you should definitely check at least, is to go into the setup. Now I have to context switch from the hog to the MagicQ. So go into the setup and the network tab here and ensure that the IP address configured here in the network is one that you actually want to work with. I've tried different combinations here without any problems. The only times I definitely had problems was when the IP address here was set to something that my computer was not configured to. Now, normally when you double click here, MagicQ automatically shows you the value you should be using by checking the computer's configuration. So it's a no-brainer really. Just go in there and make sure you have the right IP address. The next step is to make sure that we are sending the DMX universes to Capture. If I switch to the Universes tab now, as you can see, we already have an indication of a connection with the MagicQ here, although it does say hog3/4 at the bottom here for the console link. Now, you should definitely change over the console link to the MagicQ in this case. Now, I'm assuming in most cases, if you are using the MagicQ, you probably don't have the hog connectivity drivers installed. So this shouldn't be a problem in most cases. But I will switch over to the MagicQ here to make sure the link works as it should. So the reason we have some universe information here now in Capture from ChamSys is that in the DMX IO pane here, the visualizer column has been set to Capture. So this is important that you set the visualizer column to Capture in order to get the universes into Capture, obviously. And there are two choices here, either the remote option or the same PC option. If you know that you will be using the same PC, then by all means choose same PC. Now in this case, there is only one capture on the network, so it wouldn't have made any difference. If there are multiple captures on the network, it's a different situation, but in most cases, it won't even matter what you choose here as long as you're just running one capture. Now, when you've done that, that is when this link appears here. And this means that we have a CITP connection between the MagicQ and Capture. And using CITP, there are a number of things we can do apart from just the DMX transfer. But let's start with a patch. So the first thing I did when I started MagicQ was to wipe the show, which means we have no patch at the moment. So let's take a look at the patch screen here. Now I could go ahead and patch the 6 MMX spots, However, there is a shortcut with the MagicQ, and that is an automatic patch transfer from Capture into MagicQ. This is done using the Viz Patch button down the right-hand side here. This has a few different options. In order to get the patch into ChamSys, you select Capture Patch. And quite automatically, the 6 MMX spots have been patched into ChamSys without any effort. So the next step would be to show you a little bit of basic programming action. So let's head out of the patch screen. Let's select the heads and turn them on. So obviously we have DMX control going on here. We have tilt, pan, and dimmer control, as you would expect. Now, just as with the Hog, almost, we also have a selection communication going on here. The difference is that with the MagicQ, the selection goes from the MagicQ into Capture. So as I select fixtures in the MagicQ, they become selected in Capture. This is very useful when programming because you get an immediate feedback in the 3D environment whether you have indeed selected the fixtures you had intended to select. We also have the autofocus functionality in the MagicQ, which means I can right-click anywhere in 3D to focus the fixtures there. The pan and tilt values are sent back to the MagicQ, which, well, implements the changes requested by Capture. Right, so there are a few more functions worth mentioning here actually, and one of my favorites is visualization with blind programming. So if you're programming something in blind, well, the issue is that it's in blind. So it would be helpful to see in the visualizer what you're programming without affecting the stage output. This can be done with the MagicQ. What you need to do is go into the patch screen, view Viz, and finally Viz Source in the top right corner. Here you can choose the DMX source of the visualization, be it MagicQ's built-in or Capture or WYSIWYG. And what I'm going to choose here is blind prog for blind programmer. That means that I will see everything I would normally see, plus any changes made in blind in the programmer. So if we clear the programmer, we go into blind mode, select the heads, turn them on, we see this, although we are in blind mode in the console. That means that if in Capture I was to manually force the DMX source of the universe to be ArtNet, it's a blackout. Because this DMX is fed through CITP from MagicQ from the blind programmer state. So if you do a lot of programming in blind, building your next cue that you're going to put on stage or whatever changes you're doing, it's very valuable to see this in the visualizer. Another thing I would like to mention is the snapshot icons in MagicQ. So if you record a cue, you can get a small snapshot picture from the visualization associated with the cue. So let's go out of blind mode here, clear, choose the heads, let's do something basic, like, okay, that looks weird, but that doesn't matter. And record a cue. So record, playback. Now actually, that's not quite what I had expected, to be honest. That's a bit weird. But if, yes, now there we go. So if you look more closely than you probably can through this webcast, there is a small picture here now above the playback button that illustrates the content of the cue, which is in effect. And this is a live image that was transferred from the capture visualization into the MagicQ. You could also see this if you went into the Q store, for instance. So all the Qs you've recorded would have a small preview image associated with the Q here automatically. I imagine you can enlarge these and show them on the physical console where you would like them to be. It's a bit difficult to see in the webcast here, but it's a very useful feature, especially for telling the focus positions and colors apart. You can instantly spot the look you're after and have a visual feedback on the console of what is on the faders simply by viewing the snapshot icons. Very powerful. And finally, and yes, I do believe that works with palettes as well, but I'm not going to show you that. And finally, as you may be aware, the MagicQ has a built-in visualizer as well, which has got nothing to do with capture. However, as part of the patch transfer from capture into the MagicQ, the fixture positions are also transferred. So that means that not only did we get the patch into MagicQ, we also got all the fixture positions. So if I were to make changes here of the fixtures, let's say I moved part of the rig up here, and then in the patch, now I'm a little bit confused. Let's clear all the weird stuff going on here. So I'm back in patch, view heads. Now if I refresh the patch from capture, that means I now update the fixture positions from capture. So if I reopen the visualizer, you can see that the rightmost 4 fixtures that I moved up in capture have also been moved up in the visualizer in MagicQ. So it's, strictly speaking, not just the patch in a sense that is communicated between capture and the MagicQ, it's also things like the 3D positioning. There's one small gotcha in the fact that capture's rotation of fixtures is relative to the power input or LED display, I'm not even sure which. Either way, on the MagicQ, it's relative to the home position. So that means on fixtures where the home position is not necessarily on the display or power cord side, there can be a discrepancy in the orientation of the fixture. So you may have to rotate the fixtures in MagicQ by 90 or 45 degrees, depending on the type of fixture you're using. That's something we're hoping to resolve in Capture 2019, actually. But still, it's a very powerful tool for getting the bulk of the patch and fixture positions into the MagicQ. Excuse me. Finally, it is also possible to import a CSV patch from capture in the MagicQ. I'm not going to show you that since the CITP patch is a lot more efficient. But if you need to do some kind of manual tinkering with the data, doing it in CSV can be useful because you can do some copy and paste in Excel and some tricksery with scripts and stuff. So it's good to know you can also get the patch into the MagicQ using CSV files. So let's see if we got any questions. Yes, we have a couple of here. So Andre writes, usually when I try to import patch from capture, it imports only the last fixture of all types I'm using with corresponding address. So I got only one atomic, one spot, one beam wash, and so on. Now, without being completely sure, I think it is important in capture that you have assigned unique channel values to all the fixtures. I suspect, now I'm just guessing, but it's an educated guess. I suspect that if you haven't done that, you could run into a result like what Andre is describing here. Second question from Andre is it possible to import additional items like trusses to the MagicQ? And it is not at this point. I don't even think it's been discussed, but it's an interesting suggestion in that case. it's something to look into for the future. So if there are no more questions, then I think we have concluded the session of today. I've gone through the High End Hog 4 and how to connect that with Capture, how to get fixture selection from Capture into the hog, how to get autofocus working, and how to import the patch into the hog. We've taken a look at the MagicQ, how to get the DMX communication, including blind programming, patch export into the MagicQ, fixture selection from the MagicQ into Capture, and autofocus, and the snapshot icons as well. So it's been quite a packed program. So thank you for your attention and watching. It's unclear exactly what we'll be doing in our next live webcast, but it's scheduled for the beginning of December. So I hope to see you again in a few weeks, and have a nice autumn. Good evening.